Hello and welcome to this video. So we are going to learn how to get the mode, mean and median of a grouped set of data. So we have some information or some data here. These are marks that was scored by students in a particular class, in a particular test. And as you can see, between 31 to 40 marks, there are two students who scored marks in between 31 and 40. Then 41 and 50, there were 3 students. 51 to 60, there were 8 students. 61 to 70, there are 10 students. 71 to 80, there are 5. 81 to 90, there are 2. So I want us to start by getting the mode. So if a person asks you, or if you have a question asking you, get the model class. Okay, let me write it here. What is the model class? Okay, so when we talk about the model class, we mean the class that has got the highest frequency. Okay, for this case, we want the class where majority of the students scored marks of that class. Okay, or rather the class that has got the highest frequency. And when I look at all these classes, I can see that this class, which is 61 to 70, most of the students, okay, scored in between 61 and 70, or it is the class that has got the highest frequency. So the model class is 61 to 70. Okay, so let's go to the other question. Get the mean, okay, or rather calculate the mean mark. Calculate the mean mark. So how do we get the mean mark? Okay, how do we get the mean? Now normally we get the mean by adding all the marks together and then dividing by the total number of students. If it were not marks, if it's heights, for example, heights of trees, you add all the total heights together and then you divide by the total number of trees. But for this case, or for a grouped set of data, it's a bit different because, for example, when you look at this class, that is 31 to 40. We have 2 students who scored marks in between 31 to 40, but we cannot exactly tell which exact mark was scored. Okay, in between 31 to 40, there's 32, there's 33, there's 34, all the way to 40. But we don't know what mark was scored by these 2 students. We don't know whether it's 32 or 34 or 37. We don't know. Okay. When we go to this other class, that is 41 to 50, there are 3 students who lie in this class, okay? But we don't know the exact mark. We don't know whether it's 42, whether it's 43, 45. We don't know. So what we do is that we use an approximate value, okay? We use an approximate value. Okay, let me create another column. We use an approximate value, and the approximate value is the value that is at the center of that class. Okay, that is the one we use to approximate. And that mark, I'm going to call it X. Okay, I'm going to call it X. Okay, and then it's going to be the midpoint. So we are going to use the mark that is at the center or at the midpoint of this class. For example, between 31 to 40, which mark is at the center? So you take 31 plus 40 and then you divide by 2. And that is going to be 34.5, if I'm not wrong. 34.5. Sorry, not 34.5, but 35.5. Okay? 35.5. Okay? When we go to this second class, it's 41 plus 50. That's 91, and then divided by 2, that's 45.5. And then for the next class, we have 51 plus 60, it's 111. So that's going to be 111 divided by 2 is going to be 55.5. The next one is going to be 65.5, then 75.5, and finally 85.5. So that's the mean, or rather that's the value that we are going to take or to use as our estimate value. Okay, so we are assuming that each of these two students for this class 31 to 40, each of them scored 35.5. So that we are just making an assumption. So let's see. Okay, because this represents only one item, but for this case it's students. So these are marked for just one student, but there are several students in each class. So let's see, or let's create another column that we're going to call fx. What we're going to do with this class, in fact, let me make it bigger. What we're going to do for this class, we're going to multiply the mark for each class by the number of students of that class. Okay, for example, for this class, there are 2 students who scored between 31 to 40. So we are going to give each of them 35.5 marks. Okay, so their total is going to be 35.5 times 2, that's 71. Okay, so we do the same for each one of them. So let's do that. So let's go to the next class. We have 3 times 45.5. So that is 136.5. Then the next one is 8 times 55.5 is 444. Then the next one, 10 times 65.5 is 655. Then we have 5 times 75.5, 3775, or 377.5. Then finally we have 85.5 times 2, that's 171. Okay. Okay, so we have done that. So we have the total. We have the total, or rather, we have the total, the total marks for each class, So let's get the total mark for all of them now. So we're going to get the summation of fx. So the summation of fx, here we are getting the total marks for all students. And then we divide by the number of students. How do we get the number of students? We're going to get the summation of f, the summation of frequency. We're going to add them together. So let's first start by adding the number of students. So the summation of frequency, you have 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 8 is 13, 23 plus 7 is 30. So there are 30 students in that class. Let's now get their total mark. Let's add these all together. You can even pause the video and try to add them by yourself using your calculators, and then you can confirm thereafter. Okay, so I can see that the total is 1855. So as we said, we get the mean mark by adding all the marks scored by all the learners or the students. For this case, it's 1855, and then we divide by the number of students, which for this case is 30. So let's divide together 1855 divided by 30. I can see it's 61.8333. Okay, so that's the mean mark. That's the mean mark of these students in that particular test. So let's move on to the final part that I want us to look at. That is the median. Okay, so let's have another question. Calculate the median mark. So how do we get the median? So I'm going to show you a very simple formula that we're going to use to get the median. And by the way, when we talk about the median mark, the median, we mean the mark that is at the middle, okay, at the center. If you arrange these marks from the lowest to the highest, or from the highest to the lowest, the mark that is going to lie at the center is what we call the median mark. So, this for a grouped data, for group data. So I want us to arrange these marks. And the way we are going to arrange them, we're going to use something known as cumulative frequency. Okay? Cumulative frequency. So when we talk about cumulative frequency, okay, I'm going to show you how we're going to use it. So in the first class, there are two students. Okay? Then up to this second class, okay, for the second class we have 3 students. So what we do, we go adding. For example, instead of writing 3, we're going to write 5. Okay, 2 plus 3, we get 5, and then 5 plus 8, we get 13, 13 plus 10, we get 23, 23 plus 5, we get 28, 28 plus 2, we get 30. So what are we saying here? Now, for this, for this class, let's say this class, 41 to 50, it has a cumulative frequency of 5. So what we mean is that the last person for this class is the 5th student. Okay, the 5th student. Okay, for this one, the first one, 31 to 40, it's the first and the second student when you are arranging it from the lowest to the highest. Okay, so there are 2. Then up to this second class, we are up to 5, up to position 5. Then all from position 6 to position 13, they are in this class, that is 51 to 60. From 6 to 13. Then from 14 to 23, 14 to 23, they are in this class, which is 61 to 70. From 14 all the way to 23. Then from position 24, remember we are arranging them downwards, okay, or from the lowest to the highest, rather, from the lowest to the highest, because even our classes here are from 30 to 90. They are moving from the lowest to the highest. So for this class, 71 to 80, it is from the 24th position up to the 28th position. Okay? So these figures that you see on this cumulative frequency are representing the last figure in that class. So for this first class, the second or 2 represents the second position. 5 represents the 5th position, or for that class, the 5th mark, or the mark at the 5th position is the last one for that class. For this other one, the mark that is at the 13th position is the last one for this class. Then the next one, the mark that is at the 23rd position is the last one for that particular class. So I believe you have a glimpse of what we are going to talk about. So this is the formula we use. Let me write it down here. We're going to have lower, let me write it in white. Okay. Lower class limit of median class plus, okay, plus a half of the frequency, okay, in fact, let me write it, a half of the total students. Okay, let me write it this way. Okay, so that's the formula. So I'm going to, I know it looks complicated, but I'm going to simplify everything so that by the end of this video, you will have understood everything about this formula. So let's start. So the first thing that we need is the lower class limit. The lower class limit of the median class. Okay, in fact, before going to that, let's identify the median class. Now, what do we mean by the median class? So the median class is the class where the median mark lies. Okay? So remember, we have 30 students. Okay? So if we divide by 2, we're going to get 15. Or rather, 15 is the one that is at the center. Okay? At the center, at the midpoint. So we want the mark that is at the 15th position. Okay? The mark that is at the 15th position. So let's identify that class that has the 15th position. Okay? So we're going to go back here to the cumulative frequency. So we said that these values you see on the cumulative frequency represent the last or the mark that is at the last position. Okay? So, for example, for this case, for this class, 51 to 60, the last mark is the 13th position. That mark that is at the 13th position. Okay? So that means from the 14th position, they are in this class, which is 61 to 70, all the way up to the 23rd position. So the mark that we want, the median mark, which you said is the 15th, the mark at the 15th position, lies in this class, which is 61 to 70. 61 to 70. So we have our median class now. So now what we want is the lower class limit of the median class. So for each of these class, or each of these class is bound by limits. Okay? So when we talk about the limits, for example, we are in this class 61 to 70. Now this class lies between two limits, the lower class limit and the upper class limit. So how do we get the lower class limit? So the way we get the lower class limit, okay, for this class, let me use a different color. We want the lower class limit for this class, which is 61 to 70. Okay, so what we do, we are going to add the 60, okay, 60 plus 61, and then we divide by 2. So we're going to have 60.5. So that's the lower class limit. And then if you want to get the upper class limit, we're going to add 70 plus 71. Okay, so and then we divide by 2. So which is going to be 70.5. 70.5. So this class lies between 60.5 or lies between the limits of 60.5, which is the lower class limit, and 70.5, which is the upper class limit. But we are interested in the lower class limit, which is 60.5. Okay, so we have 60.5. That's the lower class limit of the median class. And then plus a half of the summation of the frequency. Summation of the frequency is the same as the number of students, and we saw that it was 30. So we need 15. Okay, half of it. And then minus the cumulative frequency of the class preceding the median class. The class preceding the median class. So we have our median class, which is 61 to 70. But that is not the cumulative frequency we want. We want the cumulative frequency of the class preceding the median class, which is this one, 51 to 60, which has a cumulative frequency of 13. Okay? So that is what we want, 13. And then we divide by the frequency of the median class. The frequency of the median class. Where is the median class? The median class is this one, 61 to 70. It has a frequency of 10. So that is what we want, 10. And then we multiply by the class width. How do we get the class width? The class width is the difference between the upper class limit and the lower class limit, and which is 10. Because we can use this one, 70.5 minus 60.5. So that's a difference of 10. So we can simplify this. So the 10 and 10 can cancel out. And then 15 minus 13 is 2. So in short, we have 60.5 plus 2. Okay, which is 62.5. And that is the median mark. That is the formula that we use to get the median mark. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. If you like it, if you have learned something new, kindly tap on the subscribe button so that whenever I upload any other new thing, you'll actually be the first one to get it. Okay? So thank you so much, and let's meet in the next video.